this team has been sort of a podcast pet, I would say. The Cleveland Cavaliers are having a rough one. Evan Mobley and Darius Garland both going to be out for at least like the next 6 to 8 weeks. And it's compounding. Like, it's at the exact same time. It's been a rough season for them. Are we looking at another team dealing with a gap year?
I think on top of that, we also have to mention that Jared Allen is having a significantly less of an impact this year than he did a year ago. And I don't know if that's, hangover from the playoffs, if that's, Mobley trying to do a little more before he got injured or what have you, but he hasn't been quite as impactful this year, really on either end of the court. As he has been in the past. And so I think, there were a team of that had 4 guys and then weren't sure what. I think they did a good job adding the fifth guy. Like, Max Strus has given them what they needed in that spot. It's just, other than Donovan Mitchell, like the other 3, some through no fault of their own, haven't really hit the heights that they thought they could.
One, it's still weird, Seth doing a ghost story podcast there with the little campfire deal. You guys want to make fun of my Wi-Fi?
He's got some very like suspect romantic lighting. All
right,
it's the dinner service.
I don't know what's going on there. It's so incredibly awkward. The other thing, this is why we're not allowed to record at night. It says I'm audio only now. What happened?
He's okay. He's okay. We'll just keep it going.
The other thing for the Cavs, though, is I think they're just in a weird position now where I think they have to decide Garland or Mitchell. They got to decide Allen or Mobley. I think we've seen enough, at least I have, in the sense of like those guys can't play together. And it's very difficult. I think the easy one to see is Mobley and Allen in the sense of the floor spacing and whatnot. I think, there's a lot of issues in that stuff. I think they need to kind of figure out which one of those 2 guys they like. And I think we can guess which one. And then I think on the other end, I know it sounds weird when you say like Garland and Mitchell can't play together. It's hard. I know they got to the playoffs last year, but you saw it really in the playoffs. The offense ran so much more smoothly when the ball was in Darius Garland's hands, and everybody just stood and watched when it was Donovan Mitchell's hands. And I think that's kind of the issue for this team. And the organization has a big decision to make, especially with Mitchell's free agency coming up next offseason. I think they got to start figuring out what they want to do and chart a course forward with that. I think that's really going to be the challenge for them. I think it's been a very disappointing start to the season. And, now the injury bugs hit them where I think you're right, Dave. And I think it's probably sucks that for them to have like a gap year, but they're going to be in some kind of quasi gap year sort of situation.
Although I would say, look, there are worse positions to be in. I'm with you. I think Garland and Mobley are the future there. And I think that's how you have to gear up. But you have Donovan Mitchell, and he is a hugely valuable player. And could potentially, if you find the right dance partner, you might be able to solve some of the holes that you've got. I mean, this team has for years needed a 3-and-D wing. It's needed like a 2-guard. You've got Max Strus, as you guys talked about, and he's sort of a perfect fit. I've been envisioning scenarios where they could somehow get Cam Johnson from Brooklyn for Mitchell and like, and maybe some other stuff. And it maybe solves a lot of their roster fits, right? Like you add that 3-and-D guy and all of a sudden it does open things up a little bit more, but so much of it is dependent on what Mobley can develop as a 5, because, Jared Allen is needed until Mobley can be your full-time 5. I mean, that's just that's the story. But do you feel like have you seen enough to feel like you'd be willing to bet he's ready next season?
No,
I think but it doesn't matter.
Right.
I think that's the thing.
Okay.
You have to put him in at some point. Like, the whole thing with Chet right off the gate has started at center. Right. And now you're seeing the Spurs now shifting and putting Wembanyama finally at center. These are the positions they're going to be. If that's the position you're going to be, let's stop delaying the development and put them in those positions. And I think that's kind of the scenario you got to kind of start looking at and start playing him at that. I think it was, look, you tried the Twin Towers thing. It didn't work, right? You're not able to spread the floor. The paint's congested, all that stuff. And even with Mobley's passing ability, it just hasn't seemed to click with those guys. So now you got to move him to the position he's going to end up playing anyways and start developing him there and get him reps at that position. I think that's the most important thing for them. And I think from there that he can grow into that position. Man, Chet Holmgren wasn't ready. He's just put in the position and now he's doing it. Nobody's ever ready as a rookie or a second year guy or third year guy.
I thought you were talking about becoming a parent.
I mean, it's
well, nobody
becoming a center in the NBA, becoming a parent, basically the same thing.
Same
so
thing.
Panic meter wise, I think I'm at like a 5 here. It's more of a, hey, this stinks, but it's circumstantial. This is not like a failure. And again, they've got very good pieces. This is not a team that's going to be bad anytime soon.
I think the lingering panic bell is, I think, the speculation about whether Donovan Mitchell would want to stay there has been I think that started 5 minutes after he got traded there.
Pretty much.
Right. And frankly, I kind of agree with the sentiment you guys are saying. And in a similar way you're talking about, Mo, moving him might be best, because I think that while it made them a better team last year, they didn't really get to see what Mobley could develop as an offensive player by bringing in a guy who has so much of the ball and such a high creative burden as Mitchell. So he didn't get a chance to learn and make some of the mistakes that need to happen to see if he can become more than like a more of an offensive cog, move towards maybe even if it's just like a Bam Adebayo type offensive player where he's not necessarily like a scoring hub, but a guy who you can make a central part of your offense. And they haven't really had a chance to experiment with that almost.
All you got for?
We should also. Yeah, I think the other the thing with the Cavs, we should also kind of mention they are the 6th seed right now in the East. We'll see how it plays out and everything. Like they could very well be a playoff team, and we could all still be going like, doesn't feel like it did last year. Like last year was the feel good story. I feel like this year was a regression with everything that's kind of happened to them. So like, I know we're pouring water on them now. It's not doom and gloom. So I'll go 4 with the panic meter, but like, I'm more just kind of concerned about how are they going to try to develop these guys, and what are I feel like they need to stop kicking the can and start making a decision.
Yeah. Oh, it's Seth. You look like
I was just they're a half game behind the Knicks, who are in 5th, but I mean, I think we would all agree we feel like much better about the Knicks, as maybe the Knicks aren't a championship caliber team, but they're a solid playoff team.
Yeah, their floor is pretty good.
Yeah.
And
I think we would probably draw a line under the Knicks in the standings and say these are the teams we feel good about, and below that are the teams we feel. Well, below that are teams we're going to talk about most of.
Yeah, pretty much.
Right.
Yeah, right. Below the Knicks line.